Imagine an artificial intelligence system just, left completely alone in a dark room for 8 continuous days, doing absolutely nothing but rewriting its own code.
No human intervention at all.
Exactly, 0. And when engineers finally open the door and test it, that system has actually outsmarted 2 entire years of human engineering.
Which sounds like a science fiction pitch. I mean, let's be real.
It really does. But it's not. That actually happened this week. So welcome to episode 568 of AI Brief. I'm your lead host, Amin, and alongside me is our co-host, Leah.
Hello, everyone.
Our mission in this deep dive is to basically extract the absolute most important signals from all the noise of the tech industry, giving you a really comprehensive understanding of where the frontier is moving today. And today, we are looking at a massive collision.
A really heavy one, yeah.
We're going to explore Google DeepMind's CEO pitching a brand new U.S. watchdog, plus a major leak about OpenAI's screen-free physical device, and New York State just outright slamming the brakes on the infrastructure boom. Then we have a massive roundup of breakthroughs and practical tools you can deploy right now.
The underlying theme today, I think, is this huge clash between boundless software ambition and just hard physical reality. Because for years, the narrative has been all about untethered digital growth,
Software scales infinitely in the cloud.
Exactly. But now that software is hitting physical roadblocks. I mean, it requires massive energy grids to train, it demands entirely new hardware interfaces to actually reach users, and it needs formal regulatory frameworks to exist safely in society. The industry is currently wrestling with physical and societal gravity that it just can't ignore anymore.
It really can't. And the attempt to bottle up that software before it breaks out into the physical world is where we're seeing the most immediate friction. So Demis, the CEO of Google DeepMind, just published this really comprehensive plan for a U.S. regulatory body that would safety test advanced models before they ever reach the public.
And the details he gave are highly specific.
Very specific. He's modeling this proposed watchdog on FinORE, which is the finance world's self-regulatory organization. So this new group would screen frontier models for deception, the creation of bioweapons, and malicious hacking skills.
Wow, so the really heavy stuff.
Yeah, the dangerous stuff. And coverage would rely purely on a model's capabilities, so labs would voluntarily submit them for review 30 days before release. Hassabis wants this operational this year, warning that open source capabilities could cross into, dangerous territory within just 18 months.
18 months is not a long time.
It's basically tomorrow in tech time. But I have to push back on the actual mechanics of this proposal. A 30-day review window for a frontier model. It's like giving a food inspector 30 seconds to test a new soup that has already been canned, packed, and loaded onto delivery trucks.
It's way too late in the process.
Exactly. By the time they find a critical flaw, the momentum to ship is unstoppable. Furthermore, proposing an independent watchdog that is voluntarily funded by the very labs it's supposed to regulate, that raises massive red flags. Can an industry effectively police itself when the financial incentives to release first are in the billions?
The concept of independence is certainly doing a lot of heavy lifting in that pitch, but the industry clearly knows what government oversight without established rules looks like.
Oh, absolutely.
The recent U.S. ban on mythos and fable proved that when governments are forced into messy improvisation, the resulting restrictions are just chaotic and incredibly disruptive. Hassabis is essentially offering a formalized rulebook to a government that just got a taste of its own regulatory power.
He's basically saying, let us handle this smoothly before you handle it forcefully.
Precisely. And the choice of FinORE as a model is really revealing because FinORE regulates brokerage firms while being funded by them. It provides structured oversight, but critics constantly argue it lacks the teeth of a purely governmental agency.
Which is a fair criticism.
Very fair. That 30-day window isn't meant for deep foundational restructuring of a flawed model. It functions more as a final tripwire. The real urgency driving all of this is that 18-month timeline for open source models.
Right, because if open source gets out of hand.
Exactly. The major labs realize that if a decentralized open source model achieves dangerous capabilities, the resulting government crackdown will hit everyone. They're trying to build a moat of regulation to protect the broader ecosystem from a catastrophic incident.
That urgency to regulate the software makes total sense when you look at how it's trying to manifest in the physical world. We have a massive leak regarding OpenAI's first foray into consumer hardware.
Oh, the Jony Ive project.
Yes. Designed by Jony Ive, the creator of the iPhone. This device is reportedly a screen-free, battery-powered speaker. It is built entirely around a human-like personality utilizing GPT-Live.
Screen-free is a bold choice.
It is. The hardware features onboard cameras and sensors to get a continuous read on its surrounding environment. It will feature mechanical movement to make it feel alive and actively study your personal data, like your emails, to deliver hyper-personalized interactions.
Wow.
But Apple is already suing over trade secrets, seeking a court order to block the hardware, which could delay its release until 2027. OpenAI claims the complaint has no merit, obviously. But I am genuinely struck by the form factor here. A smart speaker simply doesn't align with the futuristic interface we all expected.
You wanted something more sci-fi.
Yeah. The original iPhone broke traditional molds to totally change human-computer interaction. This just feels like an iteration of the smart assistant already sitting on our kitchen counters. Is this their uncompromised vision, or just a defensive pivot?
Well, creating a completely new computing paradigm often requires a deliberate rejection of the current one. The screen is the defining interface of the last 2 decades, right? It commands our full visual attention.
True. We're constantly staring down.
Exactly. By removing the screen entirely, the design forces the interaction into the ambient environment. You are no longer looking down at a device. You are speaking into a room, and the room responds.
That does sound a bit more futuristic when you put it that way.
And the addition of mechanical movement, perhaps physical articulation that tracks you as you walk around, it aims to cross the uncanny valley through physical presence rather than a digital avatar. It taps into our deepest social instincts because we intuitively trust objects that seem aware of us.
But the Apple lawsuit is going to be a huge hurdle.
A massive layer of friction. Jony Ive's departure from Apple and subsequent venture into hardware that directly competes with the iOS ecosystem, that was guaranteed to invite intense scrutiny over intellectual property. If this release is pushed to 2027, the entire landscape of ambient computing will have shifted. They won't just be competing with what Apple is building today, but whatever ambient technology Apple plans to launch 3 years from now.
That's a really good point. And while the tech giants fight over the devices on our desks, the massive infrastructure required to power them is hitting a literal legislative brick wall. If you live in New York, Governor Kathy Hochul just stepped in to make sure your monthly utility bill doesn't skyrocket just so a tech company can train its next chatbot.
Yeah, this was a huge move.
Unprecedented. New York has issued an executive order officially pausing new permits for large data centers, specifically those exceeding 50 megawatts, for up to 12 months. This makes New York the very first state to slow the build-out via official legislation.
And they're going to use that time to write new rules, right?
Right. Regulators will use this 12-month pause to write strict new standards for water, air, and electricity impacts. Hochul is also targeting financial incentives. She's pushing to repeal data center tax breaks and establish a fund these facilities have to pay into for local grid upgrades.
Which is causing a lot of polarization.
Oh, extreme polarization. Union leaders, like President Mark McManus, are warning this order immediately kills high-paying construction jobs. Meanwhile, trade groups argue the investment capital will simply cross state lines to more welcoming jurisdictions.
A 50-megawatt data center is not just a warehouse holding servers. It is a heavy industrial facility consuming the equivalent power of tens of thousands of homes.
Massive.
The water required just for cooling the server racks is immense, putting incredible strain on municipal resources. We are witnessing the physical toll of digital expansion. On one side, local governments are desperate to protect their citizens from rolling blackouts and utility rate hikes.
And on the other side?
On the other side, organized labor is losing out on generational construction contracts. And the broader tech sector is arguing that slowing down infrastructure basically cedes technological dominance to foreign nations.
Which is exactly why we're seeing some pretty wild alternatives pop up.
Like Elon Musk's space data centers.
Exactly. Initially, launching server farms into orbit sounds completely absurd. But as terrestrial real estate becomes hostile, as power grids max out, and as states legislate against new build-outs, the vacuum of space suddenly offers unlimited solar energy and natural cooling. Every time a major state like New York says no to a data center, the extreme alternatives look significantly more viable.
Space is starting to look less ridiculous by the day.
Seriously, so we are hitting a physical wall with infrastructure, but the software side is actually finding a loophole. They're shrinking the models down so they don't even need those massive data centers, or they're finding ways to have the models improve themselves. We have a massive slate of rapid-fire developments today. Take us through what's happening on the software layer, because it is moving fast.
It is moving at an incredible pace. First up, the AI lab Prism ML just released Bonsai 27B. This is the largest model to ever run natively on a smartphone.
Natively, not on the cloud.
Entirely local. They took Alibaba's open-source Qwen 3.6 model and compressed it from 54 gigabytes down to under 4 gigabytes. It runs entirely on an iPhone 17 Pro or newer.
That is insane compression.
To understand how massive this is, think of compression like taking a massive, uncompressed 4K movie and shrinking it down into a tiny file format that still retains the entire plot and crystal clear audio. PrismML's CEO actually confirmed that Apple is currently evaluating this technology, which represents a fundamental leap for processing data directly on your device.
If models can run locally on an iPhone, that bypasses the cloud entirely. But what does that mean for the enterprise market that relies on massive cloud infrastructure?
That brings us to our second development. The financial markets are reacting violently to these shifting infrastructure demands. IBM's stock just suffered its worst day on record, plummeting 25%.
25% for IBM is a bloodbath.
It really is. IBM CEO warned investors that clients are rapidly reprioritizing their spending away from traditional software services, redirecting that capital toward AI hardware like servers, storage, and memory. This severe sell-off rippled through the enterprise sector, dragging down Oracle, Salesforce, and ServiceNow.
Companies are literally canceling their standard software subscriptions to buy AI hardware instead. And speaking of the capabilities running on that hardware, let's talk about the system that rewrote its own code.
Right, this is the third major development coming from the lab Waco AI. They published results from their new system, AID Squared. This system spent 8 continuous days completely unattended, rewriting and testing its own code.
Without anyone checking in on it.
Completely alone. And at the end of those 8 days, the newly created agent outperformed Waco's previous hand-tuned agent, a system their human engineers spent 2 entire years manually refining.
Unbelievable.
The lab is framing this as the first experimental evidence of recursive self-improvement. Think of recursive self-improvement like a student grading their own test, instantly understanding exactly where they went wrong, rewriting the material, and taking the test again, getting exponentially smarter every single round, operating at computer speed.
Leaving a system unattended for 8 days to optimize its own logic and having it beat 2 years of human engineering completely breaks our traditional understanding of development timelines. We are no longer waiting for engineers to write better algorithms. The algorithms are engineering themselves.
It accelerates everything. Fourth on our list, SpaceXAI is dealing with a severe privacy incident. They are actively deleting uploaded customer data after a security researcher discovered their Grok build coding agent were shipping entire proprietary code repositories to a cloud server controlled by the company rather than keeping the code local to the user's machine.
Oof. That is a massive security failure for developers.
Yeah, not a good look. Fifth, Anthropic launched a new initiative called Claude for Teachers. They are providing verified K-12 educators in the U.S. with a free year of premium access mapped directly to state academic standards.
Which sounds great on paper.
It does, but Anthropic is simultaneously facing significant public backlash for a separate, newly released advertisement. The ad features intense imagery of a graveyard and a burning house, running alongside questions from real users regarding the societal impact of artificial intelligence.
That is a wild juxtaposition.
Yeah.
You have specialized classroom tools being rolled out on one hand and apocalyptic marketing campaigns running on the other. What is happening on the biotech front?
We have 2 major healthcare milestones. Chai Discovery successfully raised $400 million, reaching a $3.8 billion valuation. This arrived just 1 day after the company partnered with the pharmaceutical giant Novartis to license its drug design model.
Huge money moving there.
Massive. And finally, the healthcare company Actid introduced CURA1T. This is a 1 trillion parameter clinical model. To put that in perspective, a parameter is like a single neural connection in a brain. At 1 trillion, we are talking about a model with enough internal complexity to outperform all other frontier models on standard healthcare benchmarks while operating at significantly lower computational costs.
Those are some massive shifts. We've covered the infrastructure bottlenecks and the rapidly advancing capabilities, but now we need to look at how you can leverage these breakthroughs today. There are 9 trending tools in the ecosystem right now, and we're going to explore exactly how they work and the practical use cases for every single one.
Let's hear them.
First is Mercury 2. This uses what is called a diffusion reasoning model. So instead of the old method of translating text into a script and then synthesizing a voice, diffusion reasoning predicts the actual audio waveforms directly in real time.
Oh, that changes everything for latency.
Exactly. The use case here is building customer service voice agents that can respond instantly, completely eliminating that awkward robotic lag that usually ruins automated phone support. Second is Claude for teachers. The practical application goes far beyond having a chatbot write an email. An educator can upload a dense PDF of specific state academic standards, and the model will instantly generate a full semester's lesson plan, ensuring every single daily module perfectly aligns with the required curriculum.
That's going to save teachers hundreds of hours.
Truly. Third is Bonsai 27B, the compressed model from PrismL we talked about earlier. Because it runs directly on the device, the use case is running a highly capable AI completely off the grid. You can use it to analyze sensitive documents on a flight without internet access, ensuring total privacy because your data never pings a cloud server.
Complete data security.
Yep. Fourth is the Reeve API, designed for graphic designers. It utilizes native 4K localized editing. Usually, if you ask an image generator to change a red car to blue in a complex street scene, it redraws the entire image and alters the background.
Which is incredibly frustrating.
Super frustrating. But Reeve uses a specialized mask layer to isolate the car, preserving the exact pixels everywhere else. So the use case is fixing one highly specific detail in a professional asset without destroying the rest of the composition. Fifth is Julius. This tool is built for data analysis, and it fundamentally changes how we interact with spreadsheets.
I love this one.
It's so good. It doesn't just make pretty charts. It uses an underlying reasoning engine to read your column headers, understand the context of your business metrics, and write the Python code necessary to visualize the data. The use case is taking a massive, disorganized sales spreadsheet and extracting instant, interactive insights without knowing a single complex Excel formula.
Sixth is creator field. The mechanism here relies on semantic understanding to automate content scale. It takes a single text prompt, understands the core message, automatically pulls matching stock footage, generates a voiceover, and cuts the video to the beat of licensed music.
Generating a month's worth of videos in minutes.
Exactly. The workflow application is allowing a single marketer to generate an entire month's worth of short-form social media videos just from one prompt.
Seventh is Scribble, which is an essential tool for public relations teams. It automates reputation management by combining web scrapers with sentiment analysis. It constantly monitors the internet for brand mentions, analyzes the tone, and helps draft optimized citations, so you can manage a company's public reputation actively without forcing a team to scour search engines all day.
Eighth is Revit. This tool is for creative teams who need to transform a basic text outline into high-quality promotional video assets. It utilizes temporal consistency algorithms, meaning the generated video doesn't flicker or morph wildly from frame to frame, which has been the biggest hurdle in AI video generation until now.
And ninth is Timble, which is an enterprise-grade deployment layer. It provides the back-end infrastructure for developers who need to build, test, and scale custom AI workflows and agent interfaces across an entire corporate organization securely.
You know, the compounding effect of these tools is really where the industry is heading, because if you combine Julius to instantly crunch and visualize complex client data, and then feed those insights directly into Creator Field to automatically generate targeted video assets, you are allowing one single operator to execute the workload of an entire creative agency.
It really is wild when you stack them together like that. And that brings us to our core takeaways for today's deep dive. We are watching the industry attempt to mature and self-regulate, highlighted by Google DeepMind, pitching a structured MIRA-style watchdog to stay ahead of government intervention. We're seeing the computing interface of the future shift away from screens, driven by the leak of OpenAI's ambient, personality-driven physical device. And simultaneously, the sheer physical reality of this technology is crashing into the limitations of our power grids, resulting in New York's unprecedented legislative pause on large data center construction.
It's a lot of friction all at once.
It is. Which leaves us with a critical thought to explore on your own. Consider the collision of two specific breakthroughs we just analyzed. On one hand, we have a system from Wiko AI that can autonomously rewrite and improve its own code for 8 days unattended. On the other hand, we have models like Bonsai 27B being compressed so efficiently that they run locally on the smartphone in your pocket. If the intelligence is becoming exponentially self-improving and the models are shrinking down to fit onto everyday consumer devices, what happens to the global power dynamics when this capability becomes completely decentralized? What happens when the most advanced technology on Earth no longer relies on the massive centralized data centers that states like New York are desperately trying to pause? Thank you for joining us for this analysis. Be sure to follow the show to stay informed on the fastest-moving industry in the world and share this deep dive with anyone who needs to understand the mechanics driving our future.
Thank you for listening.
See